This is Rivero. He's a 9-year-old warm blood gelding. He's had sort of really very little work over the years. I've owned him since he was a yearling, and he was terribly emotionally immature for many years. He remained a colt until he was 5. Anyway, he's sort of got walk, trot and canter under saddle when he's ridden, but he hasn't been ridden for coming up for a year in that manner. He's been sort of walked around a few times about 3 months ago. So this is his first day back coming into work. So the first thing I want to do is just long line him a little bit and see how he's feeling, make sure he's sound and going forward all right, which he is. He has a bit of a tendency, especially right at the beginning, this horse, as some do, is to drop his head and come back behind the vertical. He's doing that much less now, and you'll see as soon as I increase his motional level a little bit and bring him up to trot, he picks his head up and his nose comes back in front of the vertical. So that's all good, but it's worth sort of having a look at them on the long lines, especially if they haven't been ridden for a while. I don't think there's anything nasty in this horse at all. I wouldn't expect him to buck or do anything like that. But I do like to make sure that if there is something in there, that I'm not on them when it comes out. So, this is 2 minutes or 3 minutes of long reining, which is all it should require, really. Again, you'll see I'm staying well behind him when he changes direction. I don't want him to turn and face me. That's the thing that will get you into trouble, because they quite quickly wrap the reins around their legs if they turn and face you. And they also work out it's a good way of getting a release. So all I have to do is turn and face her, and I get a release, and that's really easy. Now, given this horse has been off for quite a few months, and he's very much in paddock condition. He's standing around the paddock for the last few months, last few years really. So I don't want to tire him out either. So the last thing I want to do is get him tired before I get on. And because if I do that, he's not going to enjoy the ride. That's going to be, painful for him and unpleasant, so I really don't want that. He won't be learning anything if he's tired when I get on, and I'm much more likely to do him some sort of physical injury as well. So what I'm much better off doing is using these 3 minutes or 4 minutes, because I do something else afterwards, pre-ride, as an education, and get him into the engagement zone, into that bubble of communication. So I'm checking quickly that he's got the walk, trot, canter cues, and I'll do stop, of course. And apart from that, what I really want him to do is just relax, relax and stay in the bubble of communication, be in the engagement zone. Now I'm short lining him here. I haven't shown you much of this because I'm wearing the camera on my chest actually, and it's not the best of angles. So again, I'll pop it on the helmet next time, and I think that'll give us a better angle. It's hard to tell as well with these reins, but I have a very light hold on him. I think I dropped that left rein in a moment. There we go. And I'm just loosely holding that inside rein. The nice thing about short lining is that you can move with them, so you can make the circle a bit bigger and get a bit fit. But you're that much closer to the horse, and it does make it easier often if you are that much closer. It also gives you a better feel. There, right there, he wants to turn and face me, so I've got the dressage whip, thank goodness, so I can stop him from doing that. It gives you a better feel because you've got less rein than you do when you're long reining. And one of the drawbacks from long reining is just the length of the rein. So if he gives to the bit, I release the pressure, but that has to travel all the way down the rein. And just because of the weight of the rein itself, the horse never gets a full 100% release. This is better. Of course, it's even better once you're on board. So we'll get on in a minute and have a little bit of a walk around on him, do a bit of shoulder control. Again, I'll check my brakes. Oh, no, I won't. I'll go left. Good, same thing. And he's been this morning, you know, he was a bit sort of ears back with the whip and things, and I'm not going to fuss too much about that. I'm certainly not going to correct it. I'll let him work out that he doesn't need to be so fussed about the whip, which he will, or he did this morning, so that was good. I like the short reining as well, just to make sure that you've got that walk-trot transition. If you haven't been riding the horse for a while and you're a little bit unsure, I like to have a verbal for trot. So I use 1 cluck for walk and 2 clucks for trot, or more, until they trot. So it's good to know that you've got that, so you don't have to use your legs so much when you get on the horse. He's learnt, like all my horses, to stand by the mounting block and basically wait until I've sorted myself out, and in this case my camera and goodness knows what else, before I ask him to step off, which he did very nicely. Now here we are, and again I apologise for the angle here. I thought this might work quite well coming with the camera on my chest, but it's not going to, because it makes my hands look even stranger than they really are, because the camera is so low. I think the camera needs to be a bit higher, so I'll put it on the helmet next time. We'll have a look at that. But I'm just doing a little bit of shoulder work with him here, and it is very hard to tell with these rope reins how much pressure I've got. He's very light in the bridle, this horse, so you barely have to pick up any pressure at all. You're much more thinking all the time coming off that pressure, because I don't want him to come behind the vertical. If he does come behind the vertical, you have the advantage when you're riding that you don't have on the ground, in that you can lift your hand, which actually makes the bit work more on his lips and the bars of his mouth, which is a more pleasant experience for the horse. And if you push him forward, so increase the speed a little bit, that also increases the emotional level of the horse, increasing the speed, so you could just walk faster, and that will lift his head naturally as well. He's fine, he's not going behind the vertical in this ride at all, but it's something worth noting. And you can see there I'm opening that right rein, and I'm waiting for him to step more right with the right front. And when he does, I'll bring my hand back to the neck. I'll do the same with the left rein. I'll open the left rein. You can see that he's bent left a little bit there. And that's about as much of a bend as I want. Let's just wait till I open it again. Here I go, open it again. It's harder to see on this side because of his mane. Oh, there, I just ask him to stop. Now, the cues I use with him, because I know he understands stop, I actually drop the reins first, and then I put my weight back. Then I said whoa, and then I put my weight back. So the weight was the last cue he got, and he stopped from dropping the reins, really. So here you can see when I ask him to turn left, I open that left rein like a puppet, and you can just see his eye. You just see his eye there. So that's about the bend I want. I don't want much more bend than that. If you can just see his eye like that, maybe a little bit of the side of his face, his nose is still within the point of his shoulder, and that's about the amount of bend I want. So right here, that's quite nice. Any more bend than that, his nose comes outside the point of his shoulder, and that is going to be too much bend for me. And for him, because what happens if he bends right and bends his head all the way around to the right, like to touch my knee, and you see that quite a lot with some techniques, it really stretches out all those muscles on the left-hand side of his neck. So if while you're just standing here watching this, if you put your right ear onto your right shoulder, feel how that hurts the left-hand side of your neck. And it's the same with the horse. So bending the horse from one side to the other is really, just going to cause him quite a lot of discomfort. And it's something that is pretty unproductive as far as I can see. I've never been able to see a good reason to do that, which is why I don't do it. A little bit of bend in the neck is very useful. You see, if you try and teach your horse give to the bit, for example, or right here where I want him just to walk off, before he softens. I've got a much harder job getting him to soften there if he's straight. So he's bent a slight bit to the right, and what happens just by offsetting his head a little bit, I'm only working his neck. If he's straight, like if you were trying to teach give to the bit with the horse straight, so picking up both reins, for example, he can brace against you and he can use his whole skeletal system to hold that. So just by offsetting his neck, he can't brace against that with his whole body. So it's much easier for you, therefore it's much easier for him, because it enables you to get that message across to him. I want you to soften and relax, which is the message, and you can get that across to him more quickly, which is exactly what you want. All right, we'll see you next time.